Yo, what is going on, everyone? Thank you for checking out the channel today. Today we are going to have a pretty unique video. So today I wanted to cover the new Summoning Gate Reuniclus from Temporal Forces. So just a quick overview. The reason why I wanted to highlight this card is because of its Summoning Gate attack, which for one colorless energy lets you look at the top 8 cards of your deck, and then you can put any number of Pokemon you find there under your bench. Critically enough, this card just says any Pokemon, so it could be stage 2s, V-stars, V-maxes, middle stages, basics, anything. And so the reason why this video is going to be kind of different in comparison to the rest of my videos is because there are so many different ways you can use this Reuniclus that I felt like it was probably best just to kind of highlight different ways you could approach building with this card. And it was going to be hard for me to figure out which one I wanted to play anyways. So I just went ahead and decided to give 5 different ideas that I had on how to build this. You are going to know that like 80% of the list is going to be the same. I'm going to be completely transparent with you all. I haven't tested any of these. So this is all purely theoretical, but like I said, I really wanted to highlight more of the deck building aspect behind this card rather than gameplay. So if you do like any of these lists, go ahead and use them as like starting points. But you know, don't be surprised if they need some more refining. These are all still very much in their infancy, which is why they're all going to look pretty similar as far as like trainers. But yeah, so for the first version, we are doing a Nido pair. And the reason that we're doing this is because of this Nidoking, which has the Enthusiastic King ability, which says if you have Nidoking and Nidoqueen in play, you get to ignore all energy required to use his attacks. Which means that you can use his Venomous Impact, which would normally cost 4 energies for 0. So it'll do 190 damage, and the defending Pokemon is now poisoned. So it's effectively 200 damage. And then we are playing Radiant Sneasler, which will bump it up by an additional 20. And then we are playing Perilous Jungle as well to give us an additional 20. Which means that for 0 energies, we can actually do 240 damage going into the opponent's turn. And then if that same Pokemon is stuck in the active, it'll be 290 coming back into our turn. Oh, excuse me. Which is enough to KO, you know, V-stars and other like big bulky stage 1s, and then some of the stage 2s are not going to be as easy to KO, but like this does hit Gardevoir EX for weakness, so you one-shot Gardevoir. So Charizard is going to be like the biggest one, especially since Charizard doesn't take extra damage from Perilous Jungle. So Charizard we're just going to have to 2-shot, unfortunately, but it's not the biggest deal in the world. And then the Nidoqueen is pretty underwhelming, but you actually can use her in certain instances depending on the matchup. Mostly because of the Queen's Press attack, which for a Dark and a Colorless does 90 damage. And then during your opponent's next turn, you prevent all damage done to this Pokemon from basics. So against something like Turbo Hands, you can actually just use Queen's Press and probably just straight up win that matchup because they won't be able to kill the Nidoqueen. And they don't really have a way of stopping the Nidoqueen unless they're playing something like Iron Bundle. So the Nidoqueen is decent in certain aspects, which is why we are still playing some amount of energies. We're only playing 4 Dark and 4 Jet. The logic behind the Jet energies is just in case we somehow start Radiant Sneasler and we need like to pivot into Solosis. These probably could be like Jet energy or gift energies if you wanted. Or you could just play 8 Darks. But yeah, you don't really need a ton of energies, and you don't need like specific kind of energy, so you really have a lot of leeway on what you want to do there. And then you are going to notice that every single one of these lists has 2 Pidgeot EX. This feels like the best card to hit off of Summoning Gate because it's just a free card every turn. So these first 10 Pokemon are going to be in all 5 of the lists. We have the 4/4 Reuniclus line. I'm not even going to bother with Duosion because I feel like if I have to wait 2 turns to use Reuniclus, then I am probably going to lose the game anyways, so I'm just not even going to bother. And then we are playing 4 Ciphermaniac's Codebreaking. This is like a really good combo card with Reuniclus because it lets you stack 2 cards on the top of your deck, which is guaranteed 2 Pokemon off of Summoning Gate. So if like you have a really poor setup in this build, you could just stack a Nidoking and a Nidoqueen and then at least have an attacker, and then maybe build up a second Reuniclus to try and get some more Nidokings out. And then we're playing 4 Iono because if we draw too many Pokemon, then we need a way of putting them back in the deck, which is also why we're playing 4 Judge as well. But these are also really good disruption cards because with Nidoking's Poison, if we can limit our opponent's hands and the outs that they have for poison, then it can help us clean up some KOs. And then all of these lists are going to be playing Prime Catcher as the A spec. They're all going to be 2 bosses orders, I believe, and then some are going to have no research, 4 research, 2 research, and then the trainers are going to be relatively the same as well. 4 Ultra Ball, 4 Nest Ball, because all we need to do is find a couple Solosis and a Reuniclus, and we are good. That's why we're playing 4 Rare Candy as well, just because we're trying to pull off the Reuniclus as fast as possible. So yeah, that is the Reuniclus Nidoking variant. This one is really funny. This is basically Stage 2 Lugia. So we can actually use Reuniclus to put Archeops in play, which will let us take advantage of the Primal Turbo ability, which we're all familiar with. It lets us accelerate 2 special energies to one of our Pokemon. And the Pokemon we're going to be accelerating to is Slaking. Now, Slaking is basically a buffed up version of Snorlax. So for 3 energies, he does 240 damage, which is a lot of damage, and then he's asleep, and then he has the same ability as Snorlax, well, same kind of downside. Basically, it says that if Slaking is asleep, you have to flip 2 coins instead of 1 during checkup, and then if either one is tails, he remains asleep. So obviously, we can mitigate that the same way we can mitigate it with Snorlax, and that being with Therapeutic Energy. We can't be put to sleep, so this is effectively just a free 240 damage every turn. And that's actually like a really good threshold because it lets us KO things like Iron Hands, Chi and Pow, stuff like that. And then we are still playing the Snorlax because it is a basic attacker that does the same thing. So if like we low roll and we only hit some Archeopses and maybe not a couple Snorlaxes, it at least gives us some way to pivot and still have some attacking pressure. And then we're playing the 4 Therapeutic Energies. We're playing 4 Gift Energies just because it's one of the other best colorless special energies that we can accelerate. We're playing 2 Jet Energy as another way to like reset the sleep condition. We can jet like a Pidgeot to the active and then free retreat, go back into the Slaking. And then we are playing 1 Reversal Energy because Slaking is a Stage 2 evolved Pokemon. So we actually, if we are behind on prizes, we can just put a Reversal Energy on here from hand and just hit 240. We could also put it on the Archeops and the Reuniclus to use his second attack, which does 100 and confuses the defending Pokemon. So not completely negligible. And then, as I did mention, you will get the 4 Cypher, 4 Iono, 3 Judge, 2 Boss, standard trainer lineup, Prime Catcher. But yeah, this one seems really funny. It's basically just Lugia without the Lugia, more steps. It's probably not better than Lugia, but a lot of the Reuniclus builds are more so just going to be really funny. This next one is another really cool concept. We're using Reuniclus to summon out Skeledirge EX, which has the Incendiary Song ability, which says you can discard a basic fire, and then during this turn, all of your Pokemon's attacks do an additional 60 more damage. And notably, this does stack. So if we manage to get like 2 or 3 Skeledirges, we can discard some fire energies, do 60, 120, 180 more damage. And then we're going to be recycling those energies with Volcanion. So Volcanion, with its dual turbo attack, does 20 base, and then you choose 2 of your bench Pokemon and attach a fire energy from your discard to each one of them. So if we have 2 Skeledirges in play, we can discard 2 energies. So now the Volcanion's hitting 140, which is a good number. It does, you know, good numbers into things like Ancient Box and stuff like that. It lets you one-shot Miraidon against Future. And then we get to accelerate the 2 energies to the Skeledirges. And the Skeledirge has Luster Burn for 2 fire, does 160, and then it's not affected by any effects. So, you know, this will go through like Mimikyu's Safeguard and stuff like that. And then with the ability, you can discard fires to make this do more damage. So if you're able to discard 3 fires from 3 different Skeledirges, you can hit, you know, like 340, which is enough to one-shot a Charizard. I do think this kind of has some potential, even like without the Reuniclus package. Like just Skeledirge Volcanion sounds really funny. Oh, excuse me. And then this list is playing 2 Magma Basin as just like additional energy recovery. It's mainly just a way to power up the Volcanion, because like if the Reuniclus gets KO'd, we can go into Pidgeot, go find Volcanion, put Basin down, Basin to Volcanion, and then start doing stuff like that. You could arguably play Radiant Heatran instead of Radiant Greninja, but you're really not going to be using the Basins too much. It's mainly just for like that first kind of initial Volcanion. And I really like the idea of using Greninja as another supplemental engine for Ciphermaniac, because it now lets Ciphermaniac become a setup card for the Reuniclus rather than just using the attack. So like we can Ciphermaniac, put Rare Candy, Reuniclus, Greninja, get Reuniclus, and then hopefully hit some Pokemon. And then this one is playing 2 Superiors in the trainer line as well, because we are trying to discard, you know, a certain number of energies. We're trying to get a bunch of energies back. There's more fuel for Greninja as well. So yeah, we are playing the 2 Superiors just to kind of give us more use out of our Incendiary Song abilities. Next one up is Charizard Reuniclus, but not, we're playing the other Charizards, not the one that you guys are familiar with. So we are playing the 151 Charizard EX, which has 2 pretty decent attacks, honestly. Its first attack does 60 base for 1 fire, and then if it has any damage counters on it, it does an additional 100, which means you can Magma Base into this and then just hit for 160 for 1 energy, which is pretty good. But the main thing we're going to use it for is Explosive Vortex, which for 4 fire energies does 330 damage, and then you have to discard 3 energy from the Charizard. Now, that's very clearly quite a lot to ask for, right? For 4 fire energies. But we are also playing the Pokemon Go Charizard, which has the Burn Brightly ability, which says that all of your basic fire energies provide 2 instead of 1. So that means we can use Explosive Vortex for just 2 fire energies. And with the help of Magma Basin, we can theoretically stream this every turn. Theoretically, we should only need to use it 3 times, because 330 is enough to one-shot everything in the format, minus things that have been buffed by Heroescape. And so that's pretty much the whole strategy. You know, that's why we're playing switches in here, so that way we can use Explosive Vortex if we don't get KO'd, or if we like yeah, it's pretty much if we don't get KO'd, we can either power up a second Charizard on the bench and switch into it, or we can switch into Pidgeot and power up the same Charizard. But that's kind of the benefit of the way that his attacks are set up, is you can like use Explosive Vortex and then take a hit, and then you could start like basoning to a bench Charizard and then just manually attach to the active and then hit for 160. And then like on that next turn, you could Prime Catcher up something fresh, hit for Vortex, and now you can clean up the other thing that you hit for 160. So this one seems really funny. There's definitely like an argument for any of these lists to play some of the basic versions of whatever you're trying to summon, just because you do still have a lot of rare candies, and like you're only going to be using maybe 2 throughout an entire game. So, you know, maybe you play like a Charmander or 2 just to manually set these cards up. But I'm just going full meme, and I'm saying that we're not going to need it. And then the final list is a bit more of a disruptive build. This one is using Reuniclus to summon Gengar EX. The reason that we want to put multiple Gengars in play at a time is because of that gnawing curse ability, which says that whenever your opponent attaches an energy from their hand, they take 2 damage. This is really good against something like Chi and Pao, because it means that if they accelerate with Baxcalibur, they're going to take 2 damage every turn. And if we have multiple Gengars, it will stack. So if we manage to hit like 3 Gengars, that is 60 damage per energy attachment. And then we are pairing it with the Muck with Sticky Jail. You could probably play a Spathra if you wanted, which might be better, because the main reason that we're playing Muck is because of Sticky Jail, which does 30 damage for 1 dark. And then it says during the opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon's attacks cost 1 more and the retreat costs 1 more. So the idea behind this is that we're going to combine Sticky Jail with Pokemon League Headquarters. And then we're going to force the opponent to have to overcommit energies, which means that every time they do, they're going to take burn damage from Gengar. And then with the extra retreat, it means that if they don't have stuff like switches, they also are going to have to attach to pay the retreat cost. So it's just mainly trying to spread a bunch of damage. Like I said, you could maybe play a Spathra instead, because then you would get to play Flittle, which has free retreat, which will make Solosis attacking more easily. It'll make it easier to attack with Reuniclus because Flittle will have free retreat. I don't know why I couldn't say that sentence. But we are choosing to play 2 Grimer, which kind of goes in tandem with what I said in the previous profile of just playing basic versions of some of the Pokemon that we're trying to put into play. And that's kind of the logic here, is that, we might need to manually set up Muck because we're going to try and prioritize getting Gengar out with Reuniclus. So we're playing a couple of Grimer. And then because we do have the higher basic count, I am playing 1 Transformative Start Ditto to kind of give me higher percentages of starting a Solosis. Because if we start Grimer, it's not the greatest. He does have a 2 retreat. And like we could evolve into Muck and start like locking stuff down while we set up Reuniclus in the back. But like I said, a lot of these lists are purely like conceptual. So like this was just the initial pairing I saw, and I thought it was really funny. But a Spathra probably might be better, just because it's more efficient with the basic, and it can do more damage and takes advantage of the synergies a little more, probably. But I still think this idea could be really fun. But yeah, guys, those were the 5 versions of Reuniclus that I have concocted. Like I said, I think this card has a ton of potential when it comes to deck building, and there's just a bunch of different ways you can use this card. Unfortunately, right now, I do think he's probably more of just like a pure meme, but he's fun nonetheless, and he has a gorgeous trainer gallery art, so why not use him, right? And then as far as the deck lists go, I don't believe I'm going to be able to fit all 5 deck lists in the description of the video. So I'm more than likely just going to have like 5 pinned comments, or just like 1 big pinned comment with all 5 lists in there if you guys do want to copy them. And I'm like really curious to see if you guys can elaborate on these lists at all. Maybe come up with different ideas. There were a ton of Pokemon that I saw that I didn't even like show lists for. Like there's the Loopy Lasso Venusaur, there's Venusaur EX that can just be like a infinite kind of healing cycle. There's Aegislash and all kinds of different stuff you can do. So like I said, I just went with like really simplistic kind of builds, ones that like felt really funny to me, and ones that just kind of felt obvious. Like the Nidoking package felt really obvious. The Archeops build just felt really funny. The Skeledirge feels kind of like sneaky good. Like I might actually just experiment with Skeledirge Volcanion by itself. The Charizard build is really funny. Being able to do 330 every turn seems really kind of cute. And then the Gengar one, I wanted to have kind of like a disruptive kind of build because I really like Gengar. This just doesn't feel like a good meta for him right now. So I felt like, you know, kind of putting him into a meme build might be kind of cool. But yeah, guys, that was today's video. There's going to be no gameplay today. It's just going to be the deck profiles. I feel like trying to get a gameplay with Reuniclus would be a massive headache. And like I did say at the beginning of the video, I wanted to highlight deck building more than anything with him. So yeah, guys, if you did enjoy the video today, make sure you go ahead and leave me a comment down below. Go ahead and leave me your feedback about the style of video too. I definitely could do this for other videos, even like meta ones. You know, I could show you different builds of Charizard, you know, Tina, Lost Zone, stuff like that. So go ahead and give me the feedback on what you guys think about this style of video. And yeah, with all that being said, if you did enjoy, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the like button, and then go ahead and leave me your feedback, and I will see you in tomorrow's video.